Welcome! Here's your bubbly and beautiful host, Elizabeth. It's the Caffeinated Cooper Show!
Yeah, I believe in you. Don't believe in lucky seconds. I'm not sure about loveness, but I know I believe in angels. I believe in happiness.
Good morning, everybody. It is great to see you. This is our second show of the morning, and as you can see, we're on the road, and I am so excited to be here with you, to have a great connection. Thank you, right? All right, I have an awesome guest connected with us, and we're going to get to him in just a moment. First, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor this morning, Water Joe. Water Joe has been with us for several seasons. So Water Joe, what is it? It's water plus caffeine. That's it. It's the equivalent of caffeine that you get from a cup of coffee, which is about 80 milligrams of caffeine from one water bottle. And their water bottles are just a little bit bigger. I want to say, I don't have the sizes right in front of me. I'm usually so prepared. Here it is. 700 milliliters is their water bottle, which I'm usually holding in the broadcast when we're in the studio. So it's just a little bit larger than your normal water bottle that you can get, store brand, this, that, and the other. And it has 85 milligrams of caffeine. They also offer 1 liter. In the 1 liter, it has 120. Wow. I was about to say 1,200. 120 milligrams of caffeine in that. 1.5 liters, 180 milligrams. And they also sell cases of the 700 milliliter size. Now, Water Joe is truly water plus caffeine. They say our bottles are energy in its simplest form. Water plus caffeine. No sugar, no artificial sweeteners, no added color, no taste. What else is there to say, right? So go check out Water Joe at waterjoe.com. That's waterjoe.com. You can also purchase them, of course, on Amazon, which I love. Hello, my name's Elizabeth. I have an Amazon addiction. I do not enjoy running around from store to store to store to store. My mother used to do that, and I don't see how she did. I don't see how she got everything done when you need, I need birthday plates from this store, and I got to go to Walmart for this. And No, I go to Amazon, and I have a really good relationship with the drivers. Know their birthdays, fist bump, thank you so much, have a great day, be safe. That's how it is in my front yard every day, all day. Not exactly, but something like it. People I live with would be like, yeah, it is every day, all day, Mom. So Water Joe, you can get it at Amazon, Walmart, and on waterjoe.com, as well as many other stores near you. Just give them a search, go to waterjoe.com and find out all the locations near you of where you can find them. Now, I do have 2 news stories I want to get to before we bring up the guest of the hour. And this one is super cool. I'm going to bring in a snowman. Right? Looks like a cute snowman. It's in Florida. So let me tell you a little bit about this story that I was researching last night. It's super cool. Many of the different major news streams have reported on it. So I'm trying to piece together different information so that I'm not plagiarizing any one particular source. But Rachel Martin, it's been 45 years since she saw snow. She's in Tampa, Florida, and as a kid, she grew up in a snowy location. Now she has kids, and she really wanted to be able to show them snow. So she called up her sister, who was just getting hammered with snow, right? So much of the Northeast has been blizzard after blizzard. If I was still a kid in New Jersey, I would be like a pig in mud. So excited. I'd probably have a split level fort by now. I mean, it's amazing for the kids up there. And please be careful if you're out there driving in it. So she decided to bring the snow to Florida. She called up her sister and she's like, listen, I need you to go get a styrofoam package. You put lots of ice in there, get some dry ice, something, make a little snowman. And would you please mail it to me? So she did. $78. And 2 days later, that snowman appeared in Florida. It has been a huge hit. All of her kids are like, oh my gosh, look at that. So it's cool. When you think about the things that is so common to you, but is so foreign to somebody else, it's just absolute pure magic. I have one other story in the news, and I'm going to bring up to the stream, actually the full website, because here again, this is another news story that has been in mainstream news. And many different broadcasts are on there. So I decided just to go straight to the website. So I'm going to bring the website into the broadcast. These shoes are in the news, and they're called Wrens. And the cool project that came about and created Wrens is all over YouTube. It's all over, I think it was ABC News and Insider Tonight, all the mainstreams. You can look at some really cool broadcasts about it. So these shoes are coffee grounds and recyclable plastic bottles. And they fused the two together. They found that coffee grounds obviously are really, really strong. If any of us have had those in the bottom of our cup and you get them in your teeth and stuff, they are really strong. And then plastic bottles, and they were able to make a fiber. Question, I got a big question that nobody reported on. So I'm gonna have to go find some Wrens and sniff them, because they're saying that they're odor absorbent. So these shoes have a lot of cool qualities to them. Do they smell like coffee? Stupid question, I know. But do they smell like coffee? That's what I want to know. So it said made for you and our planet. and they are sustainable shoes. So sustainability is at the core of who they are at Wren's Original. Our goal has always been to redefine what a sustainable shoe can be and prove that eco-friendly doesn't have to be boring, says their websites. We transform post-industrial plastic and used coffee grounds. Another question: how do you get the coffee grounds? Like, are you going to the restaurants? Because I know we've always just dumped them in the trash. So, into feature-rich products that are made to go the distance. From materials to methods, we will never stop seeking new ways to minimize your footprint and maximize your movement. So you can see here this spinning picture that I have brought solo to the screen. So all you should see is my cursor here in their website, and you can go read more for yourself at rensoriginal.com. That's RENSORIGINAL.com. Rensoriginal.com. The shoe is called Wren's. They will probably make more because this is going to be a super duper hit. And I want to say congratulations to the company out there and to the inventors of Wren's Original shoes. So that concludes our news for this weekend. So I have to introduce the man of the hour. His name is David Figueroa. He goes by David Eric. If you're to find him on Facebook or many other social medias, he is known as David Eric. Now, David is a really, really special guy because he was born with a challenge, and he has turned that challenge into pure motivation. He is a motivational fitness expert and founder of his podcast called the Cerebral Palsy and Fitness Podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. He has interviewed all types of sports professionals, sports influencers, disability advocates, and individuals with CP. He is an avid sportsman with CP himself. He is gracing us with his time to tell his story and how he overcomes challenges and difficulties on a daily basis, and where his show will be headed in the near future. So without any further ado, and a huge thank you to David Figueroa. How are you this morning?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me. So excited to share my story, and hopefully your listeners will get some kind of motivation and inspiration out of it.
Absolutely. So, I was interviewing somebody recently, and she's a powerhouse within marketing and building a brand, building a business. And she said, if you're doing something and it doesn't scare you every single time you do it, then you're not challenging yourself enough. It scared me this morning because, I was going in one direction and you were coming into the broadcast. We actually started a little bit late and we never tested and we just went on live. So this is God directly into our broadcast to bring your message out there. And I want to begin with, where did your love and passion for the sports and being active come into play? Were you a young child, very active?
Well, I grew up, of course, with cerebral palsy, and over the years, as I was growing up, my folks were always trying to find ways for me to stay active because, as you know, with CP, it's if you don't, I think of the brain. If you learn something and you don't use it, you lose it. So when it came to fitness and getting into shape, my folks were like, why don't we get him into baseball? Why don't we get him into football? Why don't we get him into cycling so he can start, at least moving? And it was something to kind of keep me moving. It wasn't something that I was passionate about at first. So it took a while. And then I had around my teenage years, I went to my doctor, and my doctor was like, you need to focus on being more active, because just doing sports and sitting around all day playing video games is not going to do much for your disability. So I took it upon myself to force myself to kind of start being active on my own. And since then, I've been, involved in all kinds of sports, and that's where I kind of found my passion for fitness, and I'm still in it to this day.
Well, I love what you do. We had found each other through, I think, some mutual contacts of podcasters online on social media. And your podcast is really very interesting because a few of them that I had watched, you have well-known sports individuals and influencers. And what I found very interesting was that you're interviewing individuals that also have cerebral palsy. What is your biggest takeaway that you never saw coming from each of your podcasts? Do you have any one thing where you go, wow, okay?
Well, the I had one podcast that I did, which was from Gregory Iron. He's the only professional wrestler with cerebral palsy. And what took me away was he kept being dedicated and motivated to the craft. And at first, no one would really give him a shot, because he has CP. And as you know, individuals think disability, liability. So we're not going to give you a chance. But fortunately enough, you have someone like, Johnny Gargano, who's a famous professional wrestler, decides to train him. And he went to every single practice, went to every single wrestling call that they had, and he kept pushing himself, and he never gave up, even though it was very difficult. And to this day, he's also a motivational speaker, and he does all kinds of things in the professional wrestling business.
Wow. Professional wrestling would be one thing that I would think that his doctors may be quite concerned about.
Oh yeah, he told me all kinds of stories. He grew up in a very rough background, but wrestling was an escape for him.
Yeah.
So you have to find something you're passionate about, and it's he was passionate about it, so he pursued it. So that's one thing I could take away from each individual that I've interviewed, is that they're passionate and they don't give up and they keep on going.
So if I was a parent with a child who had cerebral palsy, and the doctors are saying stay active, I've had very, very good close friends, and they were in that realm of raising a child with cerebral palsy, and they play basketball and they play soccer, but they were always, I hate to use the word fearful, but that's the only thing that's coming to my brain right now, that they may be picked on. What can you tell to the parents out there? What is the best thing they can do to continue to encourage their child to move forward, to move past all of that?
What I used to do growing up is every year when I was in school, I would take one day and explain my disability to kids. What I have, the differences, and how, despite those differences, I was always just like them. It might take me 10, 20 minutes to do a certain activity, but I'll still get it done. Um, I always tell parents, encourage your child to speak about their disability early on in life, because once they do that, a lot of people may find common ground, you know, may find understanding, because a lot of individuals nowadays, when it comes to CP, they aren't educated, so they assume CP is something mental. So, I've had people look at me and they say, are you like, do you have difficulty, speaking, or just are you in general slow? And I was called that when I was younger. So, to parents, I would definitely encourage them to push on their kids to talk about their disability if they're comfortable,
Yeah.
and to not let anyone tell them any different. Because I've seen parents discouraged because they're told, oh, but your child is not gonna be able to push past, elementary school, middle school, or high school, or even go to college. And I was one of those kids, and I would definitely keep on pushing forward, keep on being positive, and just letting the child flourish as much as they can.
Yeah. I grew up with a friend of mine. He has cerebral palsy. And I remember when we were kids are, they're an interesting I want to say creature because being a human child and being a human adult are two totally different things. I think once you become an adult, things happen, our things in our health and mobility. It can happen to anybody. And I have a feeling that as we age, being a child with cerebral palsy, maybe it was the adults that were able to connect to my friend more so than the children, because we don't know what we don't know. So kids, I watched a lot of kids be really mean to him. And I think now that weighs heavy on their spirit because now we're mid 40s and we know better. Um, and I can only imagine what you've gone through. He has also decided to stay in the world of fitness, to stay active, and to stay really positive. What do you do? And what did you do younger? What do you do now to keep that positive mental attitude going?
Oh, I get it off my the students that I work with every day as a youth advocate. Every day when I walk in, I think to myself, you might be having a rough day, you might be dealing with difficulties, but these kids depend on you. So you gotta be as positive as you can because that positivity radiates. It can radiate off you to other people. And like I tell my students every day, you have to keep an open mind. You have to be positive all the time. You can't let things manifest in you. There's always someone there to talk to you. There's always someone there to bring you up. I've had kids at the beginning of the year that had no idea about my disability, and once I told them about it, they started opening up about their own disabilities, and that is something I wasn't looking forward to on the first day of the year. Like usually it takes a few weeks, but on the very first day, that's incredible. You know,
Wow. That
so
had to have accelerated your time, just being able to open up and just be raw and be like, here I am. Let's have a real conversation. There's no, walls or that bubble to the eggshell to crack, right? You just get into a conversation.
exactly, and I always usually on the first day I crack a few jokes here and there, like to kind of lighten up the mood. Because some kids can be really brutal. Even kids are kids. So I was like, it's okay if you say stuff. I walk like a penguin. I already got that down. I'm pretty good at it. So I try. They start laughing. They're like, how are you so like positive? Doesn't bother you? I'm like, no. You guys learn. And growing up, I had kids that I would meet that would be extremely mean, and over the years, as years progressed, their mindset changed,
Yeah.
and then they approached me, and they would apologize. They'd be like, "I'm sorry for being so mean to you all those years ago," and then eventually they became acquaintances and friends. So the power of you getting out there is so important.
So, as you had just mentioned, the kids that were mean to you, did you become numb to that at a certain point, or did it hurt you each time?
Oh yeah, it hurt me, but it never got me numb because I had the proper support system, at home, and I had a few close friends and teachers, and I never let it bring me down. Never let it bring me down.
Yeah. There's always angels on this earth, I believe. And like my friend Eric with cerebral palsy that we grew up with. So in our situation, we had two different schools. And of course, at the best time in school, middle school, right? So the two middle schools came together. And then, in many different school systems, the high schools you'll have different feeder elementary and middle schools into them, right? So the scenario is kids that don't know each other. And my school didn't know his school. And so when sixth grade started up, which is the beginning of middle school, he had like a posse. He had three girls and two boys, and they would help him with anything that he could possibly need. But I remember walking down the hallway, and now we had never seen Eric before. So he has the crutches, and or are they called crutches?
Yeah, they're called crutches, canes.
Canes.
Yeah.
So he had the canes, and this was different. And I remember we would look, but we weren't staring. We tried to say hello, and they were pit bulls, man. They were like, "What are you looking at? He's just like everybody else. Look somewhere else." And man, they really protected him. Is that very common that you have the friends that you have are like really close, dedicated friends?
Oh yeah, I had some really close friends that are always there for me, protective. Even go back to in the classroom. I have students that I'd walk in the hallway, and then you have random students running around the hallway, and I get bumped and knocked over. And I was in a scenario where I was walking to my classroom. I slipped and fell because some of the kids were running. And then I had a couple of the kids that were I always see that would be around me, like run towards those kids, and they just want to wail. I'm like I'm like stop before you land a finger. I need you to be vocal. Don't use your hands. Use your words because they wanted to. And I get the sentiment. I appreciate it, but I don't need you to get in trouble just because of me.
Oh, that is very humble, very, very
Yeah.
kind and humble.
But as far as my friends, I mean, I have like five close friends that I'm close with, and they would, you know, times where my folks would be out of town and I had trouble, getting groceries. This was before delivery. That they would help me get to where I needed to go and help me get the stuff I needed and bring me back home. And when we were out in public, they would create a shield so I wouldn't get bumped by other people,
Yeah,
and knocked over. So I have some really close friends that really care.
I love that. I think, that goes such a long way for every single person, but especially um, someone that has additional challenges in this life. And as a child, there again, we don't know what we don't know. So you were born as David. I'm born as Elizabeth. That's all that we know. And it's kind of a beauty and the power of that. Let's talk about your podcast for a moment. So your podcast is David's Cerebral Palsy and Fitness Channel. When did you start that up? And what did it feel like at the moment that you realized I need to do this?
Well, I started it during, I guess, during COVID that we were kind of we were home for a couple months. I was working remotely, and I don't really have anything else to do. So I was like, and then I've had years of people saying, you should start up a podcast, you should start motivational speaking. And I was very skeptical because I had no idea where to start. I did do a couple of in person appearances before starting the channel. So it was just, and I started, at UCF, which is where I graduated from. And let me tell you, it was nerve wracking. It was, it was a mess. And fast forward to the channel, and I said, why not start the channel uh, strictly for sharing my journey? And then from my journey, I shared my journey to fitness. And then I said, why not open it up to people? Why not open it up to others so that they have an outlet to share their stories and be able to have a platform where they're not judged. They can just share their stories and people be supportive. And I've done that since where I've had people on, and or sometimes I'll get on and say something inspiring, and it's been wonderful. Like I've seen it grow, and it's and there are times where it gets tedious, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Well, I really love that you have such that open platform and it's instant friendship. I really, really enjoy those podcasts. I think a lot of other people do too, because otherwise we wouldn't have viewers. But it's two people with like instances, like, you did fitness. Like fitness is always going to be the key. So, tell me about your favorite guest that you've ever had on your podcast, and then who's on your bucket list?
Ooh, that is a rough one. I mean, I've had so many, so many. I mean, let's see, my favorite. I hope whoever's listening to this doesn't hate me after this, but I'd say Gregory Iron, definitely Gregory Iron. I mean, he was somebody that I had targeted for years as far as getting on my show, and funny enough, it happened around my 30th birthday. My friend made a cameo request to him, and he mentioned how much of a fan I was. And eventually, I got the cameo, and he said, happy birthday, and he was talking about how he heard about my podcast, and next thing you know, on the same day, he took time from his highly highly award winning podcast himself, Iron on Wrestling, to be to for me to be able to interview him. And he took the time and he talked about his journey growing up, and then his journey into the professional wrestling business, training with the people from Impact Wrestling, WWE, and it was surreal. It was surreal. It was awesome. So I'd say he would be my favorite. And on my bucket list, um, would be, oh man, I mean there's so many out there I could choose. It's for right now. It
Mhm.
would be I can't really choose. I can't really pick. There's too
Okay.
many. Yeah.
How could someone find you? Like, let's say they're watching this show or they catch one of your podcasts and they're like, man, yeah, this is me. I really want to be on the show. How could they submit?
Well, you can actually go on my Instagram, which has access to my email. So it's David's CP Fitness, and you can find me there. Or you can also DM me if it makes it easier. Um, you can also find me on the other platforms such as you can always message me on Facebook under David Eric. Uh, any other podcasting platform. So everything else is pretty much the same at David CP Fitness. So Twitter, TikTok, you can find me there. So if you need to get a hold of me and request me, you can.
Okay. And I want to go ahead and type in your email. What is the preferred email address for them to contact you?
It's David's CP Fitness
Mhm.
at gmail.com.
So it's davidscpfitness@gmail.com. So when does your show air?
Uh, well, the original show aired around 3 years, about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then I started thinking, I had a bunch of random episodes with like no structure. So around last year, I was like, let me just start from the ground up, start from scratch. And then I started, luckily I had all my content saved. So I was able to kind of start with just the beginning content, with what I started before. And then I worked my way to now I just do podcast interviews, or I'll just hop on and say certain things. So I just focus on just interviewing others on the podcast as well as fitness. And before it was just, anything that came to mind that could help people, as far as like product reviews and stuff. And I said, you know what? I think the audience would prefer listening to people speak in their journeys rather than just like stick a product review here or there. So I'm like, let me just start from scratch and then just focus on people and the podcast in general.
So do you broadcast based on someone's availability or are you on at a certain day and time?
I'm on based on their availability, so I'm pretty flexible. I'm pretty
Okay.
flexible when it comes to time. I usually use the mornings to do podcasts because in the afternoons I start work. So, or on the weekends where I have more free time.
Mhm. So let's talk about your fitness training because you're also a fitness trainer, right?
Yep, I do work out.
Okay. So take us through some of the training. What do you what genre or what area of fitness, like for myself, there's everything. There's kickboxing, there's parkour, and there's HIIT, and there's body weight exercises, and there's yoga, and there. What would you say that you do? What is it called?
I do a lot of cardio and endurance.
Okay.
So a lot of walking, jogging, resistance bands training, some weightlifting. I learned throughout the years that quality is better than quantity because I used to do a lot of heavy lifting, and I learned the hard way that if you do that with a disability, you're gonna get hurt. And it happened to me once. I was in the gym doing rows, and I lifted wrong. And I was with my friend. He was working out a couple machines down, and I lifted wrong, and I felt something twitch on my back. And I would call my buddy over, and I'm like, I can't move my back. I'm having trouble moving. And he would like get me up, and I was like all hunched over. And then I learned after that go lighter, do more reps, because if you do that, if you go lighter and do more reps, you're able to get the results you want, even though you're lifting as much. And then I also incorporate medicine ball training. So do use the medicine ball, which a lot of people tend to not really use. It's like something that's like set afar. Free weights, free weights are a big thing because it helps you build muscle. In different groups. I do use a Smith machine every once in a while. For especially when I do benching. That's something I can't do. Via without the Smith machine. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much my workout routine, and I usually do full body, 6 days a week.
What about nutrition? Do you have specific nutrition that you like follow for yourself, or nutrition plans, or do you have your own?
As far as nutrition, I eat pretty much whatever. It's as long as I keep it in moderation.
Mhm.
I don't drink. I don't really drink or do any kind of drugs. So
Mhm.
I'm usually stay clear from that. But other than that, life is about enjoying food. Enjoy it, but enjoy it responsibly.
Ah, I love that. Yes, I'm not someone that believes in diets or gimmicks or anything like that. I think what God has given us on this earth and what can be grown um, and hunted. I mean, we are hunter gatherers, so I am a meat eater, and I'm in the South. It's quite, you know, not not as embraced to be in the deep South and to be a vegan. Although there
I can
are many,
imagine.
and I respect everybody and how they would like to eat. I love what you said there because it's, yeah, eat responsibly. Um, Now, I'd like to ask a question, and I hope it's not a dumb question, but I've noticed with particular types of challenges that we've been given in our health, not everybody knows what cerebral palsy is. Would you mind just giving us the general idea so everybody understands it? Because we hear cerebral palsy, but I would say unless we had it, or it's within our family, or someone we really closely love, otherwise we don't really know what it is.
Well, CP varies. So you have people with speech impairments, people that have physical impairments that could affect one side of the body, or could affect the entire body. For me, I have spastic hemiplegia, which is basically it affects one side. So for me, it's my right side. So when I walk, I tend to lift my right arm and drag my right foot, and then my strong side is my left side. And that cerebral palsy in itself, universally, it occurs due to the lack of oxygen to the brain. And I was born 4 months premature.
Oh, wow.
If you take a water bottle and you hold it up and you picture me, that's how small it was.
Oh my goodness. 4 months premature. And look at you. This is the gift of life. This is how much we fight as beings for life. That's an absolute miracle that you're here, you're with us, being born 4 months premature. Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate that because you're not everybody knows what so many different conditions are, and we hear about them. So we also hear about a lot of organizations that work with people that have cerebral palsy. May it be helping them with medical expenses or living expenses. Are there any charities out there that you really believe in, that you think, yeah, they got their stuff together and they actually do pass the money forward on to the people who need it?
There's so many out there. Like I've heard of heard of Love, which is a nonprofit down in Miami. There's also UCP, which is basically a school for those with cerebral palsy that are wanting to help those. I would always reach out to any schools that they may have that may need help as far as getting cerebral palsy awareness out there. Any local schools for students with disabilities. There's Lighthouse. They have people who deal with blindness or could have CP as well. So I mean, there's tons out there.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that, because we're always looking for a place to be able to give, and trying to, now that we're connected through the internet, it seems like there's charities everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's a charity, and to be able to vet them has become very, very difficult. So I wanted to ask someone like yourself, who is in media, who has a very successful podcast, who is a successful fitness trainer. I thought maybe you would know. So I know it's a little off topic. Thank you for indulging that question.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your podcast again. Where do you see it going in the future? Do you know who will be coming on next up in your podcast?
Well, this Tuesday I'm going to have a well, she's a model with cerebral palsy, and she has her own business called uh Jelly Julie, which sells skincare products.
Oh, cool.
So she should be on Tuesday of this week, and I'm hoping to make the podcast and to make what I do something hopefully full time that I really enjoy. I believe that education spans beyond the classroom, and I'd love to be able to educate others everywhere I go. That's the main goal is within the next few years is to kind of transition from being this doing I mean still doing the podcast, but as far as speaking, from speaking, virtually, to hopefully by then be able to go out in public and feel the energy of the crowd and travel everywhere and just enjoy life and enjoy spreading my message to people.
So now, as far as speaking engagements, can they also contact you through the email address that we shared earlier? And I'm finding that right now. That's davidcpfitness@gmail.com. If someone is possibly viewing this and they're like, yes, we want to book him as a speaker, would that be how they can contact you?
Yes, that would be.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much, David, for your time. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I think your podcast touches so many spirits and hearts and souls out there. Continue doing what you're doing. You're on to something really, really good.
Thank you so much. I had a pleasure being on and being able to share a bit of my journey, and I'm hoping others will be motivated and inspired to start theirs.
I hope so as well. Well, David, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you very soon. You're now a friend of the show. So I see a lot of things in your future. If I could be a fortune teller for a moment, I see a book. I see, TV shows, like being on Good Morning shows, talk shows, all types of things in your future. Definitely speaking engagements. You're a wonderful educator. You're so very well spoken, and I love the way that you speak. If I can pay you a compliment there, because you explain everything that you're doing in such relatable terms, and you're easy to connect with. So with all of that, truly from my heart, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I I find that the best part about doing what I do as far as speaking in the podcast isn't the fact that I'm getting attention. It's the fact that I'm reaching out to so many people that need it.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of being able to do this streaming content and have podcasts out there that you can put on so many different avenues for people to, walk their dog, and they have us playing in their ears. And I love it. Amen to that. All right. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. This has been a wonderful show, and it's been a wonderful show great in part to my guest and to you. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we are blessed. You are blessed. Mwah! I love you. Normally, I'd end right there. I just want to give you a quick heads up. The studio will be closed for about a week and a half. I do have another surgery to go through. It's going to be very, very successful and very quick. And hopefully I will be able to get right back to it in a little less than 2 weeks. I'm pushing, right? I'm always pushing. I want a little more. I want to get back to you guys. So we will be back very soon, but next week I will be off. Everybody have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon. Thank you again for watching.